We figured that we cannot club awareness as one. You could be aware of being your emotional self, but maybe your intuition is totally off. So the first one, let's say, is mental clarity. How aware are you of decision making? Then we have physical awareness. How much is your energy level on a given day? Are you just running on caffeine? Then we have spiritual grounding. How in tune are you with something that's beyond you? Intuition is the awareness that comes before your thoughts. Creative flow, how problem solution oriented you are. Then we have emotional regulation, which is a big one. Then we have relationships and connections. The way I am with myself, am I the same way as with other people? And then the last one is purposeful action. How am I making an impact? Awareness is like an operating system which you can see how your intelligence, your senses, everything else is working.
So how can one increase their ability to be more intuitive or get more signal, not noise, but signal from intuitive sensing? Hello and very welcome to the Human Future Podcast. This is the show where we explore the fascinating intersection of accelerating technology, human consciousness, and the actionable steps that we can take today to contribute to a desirable human future. My name is Kirill. I'm so glad that you're here, and I hope you enjoy this episode. Mitali, welcome. Thank you for coming on the show. This is how it starts.
Okay.
And why don't you do a quick intro for the listeners to understand who is in front of me? A quick story. How did you get to now? What's your main story?
Sure. Thank you so much, Kirill, for having me here. My story, well, on the physical side has been... I'm Indian. My parents are Indian. I grew up in 4 countries. And my journey from my childhood has been about being very inquisitive. And that led me to, on the spiritual front, someone who discovered life along the journey and not through my parents. On the physical world, I have an engineering degree. I did all the right things on the book that my parents wanted. I've been good at business, I would say. I'm happy to say that on camera. I've had 2 successful startups in fashion tech. And during my journey of building my first startup, which is Fashom, I discovered that I needed to start merging the 2 worlds. I had a spiritual practice that I had been working on for almost 15 years now. And it was a very dramatic Bollywood story, I can say, maybe. We can get into that. But I decided that because of the pressure that was created internally at my company, we were at about 50 employees in a small space. There was a warehouse as well. And I felt like, first of all, there was a disconnect in my behavior because I was a person outside of the office and a different person inside. While we were raising our Series A, I felt the need that there was something else that needed to happen and just not pressure. And I hated to admit back then, but I openly admit it now that it's hard as a female tech entrepreneur. You have a lot more challenges. And I say that because I have heard stories from, fellow founders as well. And I decided to bring my spiritual practices to work to ease off the pressure and to create a sense of mission, a together mission to raise the consciousness, if I can say that. And I felt a change. I felt a change internally and externally. Internally, I felt like even though I was practicing emotional regulation on a physiological level, I did not feel that connection. I had put in the effort from a logical perspective, but if I were to go and feel it, I did not feel connected to the people who were on my team and on some level, even with myself. I felt like there was a disconnect. And I started bringing meditation practices to work. Fortunately, this was a gifted talent, if I can say it that way. But once I was on the spiritual journey, I discovered something new. I could do guided meditations for people. And it kind of came like, I don't want to use the word channeling because it's overused, but I felt like it wasn't me who was learning because I had never done meditations before. I grew up in a very logical household. I'm a third generation engineer. So I literally felt like, they could have given me the degree. So,
right.
so I had never meditated or learned anything about spirituality before. And once I started doing guided meditations for friends and family, I discovered that I had something that wanted to come through me to these people. And I started bringing that to work. And I started doing guided meditations in the office, including a USPS man who was more stressed than anyone else because he had to take so many packages. So we started doing guided meditation, and not everyone resonated. So I gave an option. It wasn't like, hey, I'm the CEO, so you have to do it. But it was optional, and whoever felt it stayed on. Who didn't feel it, they had the option not to be there. The other thing I noticed that when it comes to being present and aware, it doesn't have to necessarily be only meditation. So we started doing other stuff. I asked them if there was something else anyone wanted to do. So people came up with options. There was dancing. There was even stand up. So anything that just basically broke the pattern we were in, for 8 or 9 hours, sometimes 7, 10 hours in the office. And for a couple of hours, we did not think about work. We were friends, and we connected on a different level. We grounded ourselves. We went back with more energy, I felt after the break. And externally, things changed. The customers were happy. We got money. Whatever you can say on a worldly level, the success came in. But like I said, my biggest achievement if I have to say it, was bringing this awareness inside the team, and which led to what I'm doing now. And I'm trying to bring this to others to see if and how I can help other businesses implement something like this, and help them grow not just on a successful monetary level, but also on a personal level as well.
Beautiful. And so is that full-time now? So you left the startup. Maybe you speak a little bit about the startup, Fashom. Yeah. Tell me a little bit more about that. And yeah.
Sure. So the business model is that we made AI solution for matching women's body shapes with clothing, and we own the clothing. So it's at this point, it's split into two companies. There's a B2C component where we ship out boxes, and there's B2B where we help other retailers use the same technology. Obviously, with more enhancement in AI, there's been some changes, and it's growing really rapidly. So, but besides that, the positioning that we have in the industry is that we collected a lot of data over the years. So I pivoted the company a few times. I started off like an Instagram for fashion, and the company journey actually started through a meditation. I saw something like this in a meditation, and this was a whole career change. I've not studied fashion. Like I said, I'm an engineer. I was in wireless communications before this, and I was working for another startup, but my journey started with T-Mobile. Long story short, I just ended up doing a campaign outside New York Fashion Week where we had a plus-size African-American model and a transgender model standing outside New York Fashion Week, and we asked people if they resonated with them to put a Be Real sticker on them. And that took off. I got a lot of PR overnight, and I had no business idea. But eventually it came through, and now that we are doing these two companies, to answer your question, I am in the process of exiting. There are different options that I'm looking at, but haven't made a decision yet.
Okay, and then now you want to fully focus on your next endeavor, which is bring awareness into corporate world, or like a small to medium-sized businesses. Is that kind of the goal that you have in front of you now?
Correct.
Yeah.
So it's twofold. It's actually, one is a founders group. So we help them with business strategy, but also connect it to mental wellness. Because in my journey, and I'm sure you agree, that they are not two different things. It's interconnected.
Right.
So that's one part of it. And I feel very passionate about that because of my own journey. And I feel like I can connect better with founders. The second is, yes, we do workshops for corporates for them to it's not about alleviating stress. It's making the system understand, like, how can you be more aware as a team, as a system that's operating behind everyday lives in the office.
So talk to me about the approach. So you have like a 8-step process or 8-step something. So tell me a little bit more about that. Yeah.
The something is called awareness intelligence, AI.
Yeah. Okay.
And I coined this term actually in my TEDx because they asked me to talk about fashion and AI, and my journey was more on awareness. So I coined this term called awareness intelligence. I did trademark it. So
Amazing.
it was available, so that was a sign.
What year was that available? When did you?
Like 6 months ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah. Awareness intelligence.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a framework that helps you regulate emotions, make clear decisions, and most importantly, act through presence and not reactivity. And the way it's done is through a series of workshops, because as you know, it takes it's a muscle. Our brain is a muscle, right?
Yeah.
So it's not a one fits solution for all, first of all. Second, it doesn't need practice. It's just like going to the gym. You cannot go meditate one day and expect everything to change. So the workshop starts with an awareness test, and it's divided into 8 sectors. So it talks about physical wellness, mental clarity, emotional regulation, spiritual grounding, intuition, which is another topic. It's used, but I guess everyone's like really confused on logic and intuition, and we can come back to that.
Yes.
But overall, it divides the awareness into these sectors because when I went through my journey, I interacted with a lot of neuroscientists, and we figured that we cannot club awareness as one. You could be aware of being your emotional self and regulating your emotions, but maybe your intuition is totally off. Like you don't connect with your body instantly to make decisions based on intuition. So that's where the whole 8-step process came in. But there's action plan based off of what we need to work on, which is individualistic, but also as a team. So make sure that everything is coherent. And like I was saying, the whole issue is not about individuals in companies. It's more about collectively how they work together as a team.
As like a collective awareness, is that kind of what you're working on?
Correct. For professions, like as a workshop for companies, yes.
So can we kind of walk through those 8, and so you can kind of give a little bit more detail on each one? Would that be all right?
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, see, the action plans basically based off of how they, I hate to use the word score, but how you are on each level. It's like an internal dashboard, if I have to explain it logically. So there are self-reflective questions, and it's not a journaling prompt, and it's not a psychological test either. So it'll ask you 4 questions per section. So if you have intuition, it will ask you things like, in the last few weeks, how often have you listened to your body? Things like, when did you make a decision based off of the first instinct? And based off of that, you would score yourself. And cumulatively, like the questions would add up and give you a score for where you stand on your internal dashboard for intuition, so on and so forth. So every section has that. Now, to build onto intuition are certain exercises. They're individualistic because there's also like people have apprehension doing certain things. So it's not, like I said, it's not one size fit all solution. We look at it and then we guide them through the action plan. But the idea is for them, first of all, to be aware, because that's step 1. But
I kind of wanted to go through each 8 pillars and understand what goes into it. So I understand it's, awareness, it's not black and white from my understanding. It's more of a spectrum of or at least a gradation of multiple things that go into it. So I kind of wanted to give a little bit more kind of drill down on each of those segments, and you can give a little little bit more definition of what goes into it, how you affect it, if you don't mind kind of breaking it down like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
So the first one, let's say, is mental clarity.
Okay.
So under mental clarity, how aware are you of decision making? And I'm doing this specifically for working professionals.
Okay.
So how aware are you when you are making certain decisions for your team or for yourself or for the business? So there's different types of questions depending on, where you land. So it kind of auto-generates that. So the awareness, again, goes back to how clear are you on a mental level? How aware are you, rather, on that physiological or logical plane than saying, hey, I'm aware of the decisions I'm making. Do I have mental clarity or am I completely in brain fog?
Okay.
So
yeah, maybe walk me through what happens when you have low or high, kind of like define those boundaries of high awareness for decision making and low awareness. What are the signs and how you influence each the specific part of the awareness?
Sure. So if you are talking about making decisions,
Yeah.
And any awareness sector, the higher the score, the better it is.
Yeah.
But not having good score doesn't make you a bad human being.
Right.
It's like a muscle. You might be weak at this point, but there's room to grow. But there has to be a willingness to grow. So our hope is that once you know that there's awareness on this, like I'm not making the right decisions, because most of us, when it comes to high stress, success, meaning money or maybe fame in some cases, when you attach yourself in that safety mode, you operate only through logic and you make decisions without any awareness. So this section basically focuses on how aware are you what success even means. How are you differentiating yourself in making certain decisions, whether it's for yourself, your team, your business, or whatever it entails. So the more you see the question, and in my journey, I've seen like people have never questioned that. Like people have no understanding of, I made that decision, but I don't know why.
Right.
So again, that doesn't mean that they're a bad person.
Yeah.
Maybe they were just under so much pressure to make certain decisions that they didn't really focus on the why and the what, and they just went with it.
Okay.
So it reflects back to you, okay, I'm really low on mental clarity, let's say. Now what do I do? Like, does it really affect me? Like that, why is it important?
Yeah.
So then we go on to showing them in their particular case how certain decisions would have affected them differently.
Okay.
And this is more on an individual basis, not like on a group level. So let me take a step back. The way this whole program works is the first step is awareness. And I think this implies in everyone's journey. The first step is awareness. The second step is actionable plan. The third step is your willingness to adapt to that actionable plan. And the fourth step is accountability. Like, are you checking in, and is there someone who's making sure, or yourself, or an app? We have AI now who can check in and see, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing?
Yeah.
So between the four steps, the first step is the test that I said. Say I'm low on mental clarity. The second is, let's say we individualize their plan, saying you need to take 5 breaths before you make a conscious decision.
Yeah.
Third step is, are they willing to do it? Because some people be like, I don't have the time to sit there and take 5 breaths and, I'm like in a board meeting. So that's the third step. And the fourth step is, so we come in, or there's an app that we're working on that would prompt, hey, how good are we with this action plan?
So from what I understand, awareness around decision making comes down to what is the higher level goal or a mission or purpose that every decision have to connect to that, and the less it's connected, the more kind of like blind you are. You're just making decisions or you're making some actions, but they're not really tying back to the big why, and that's defining the awareness. The more aware you are, the more clear the connection of each action towards a why, a big why, right?
Correct. And it also ties in with everything else. It's not like, hey, I'm good with being aware, but my emotional regulation totally sucks. So now I'm aware that I'm stressed, but I don't know how to reduce stress. So I'm still going to make that bad decision. So then, that's why it's not like, hey, we are going to work only on one sector. When an individual fills out that internal dashboard, we look at it collectively. So now if you are making certain decisions and you are not connected to that. I'm not saying that intuition works independently. That's why we say, hey, there's mental clarity, but there's intuition as well. How do you connect data and intuition together is the question. And how do you regulate your emotions before you make any decision? So decision making, is it coming from reactivity, from stress, or is it coming from knowingness, like the presence we talk about in spiritual world? Hey, I'm aware of my thoughts and I am making this decision knowing what I know, internally, externally.
Hey, by the way, if you've been enjoying this conversation and you're thinking about starting your own show, my team and I specialize in exactly that. Our podcast agency have been producing this and many other amazing shows for our clients. And so to help you get started, we put together a handy podcast starter guide that walks you through all of the steps that you need to start and grow your show. You can find the link in the show notes, or you can just reach out to us if you need any help turning your podcast ideas into reality. All right, now back to the show. Okay, so again, what are the eight things that you break down the awareness into? We just covered one, right? The decision making is one of them.
Yeah. So mental clarity is that. Then we have physical. So how
physical awareness.
Yeah. How how much is your energy level on a given day? Are you just running on caffeine?
Yes.
How, again, is there awareness to your physical being? Because we sometimes ignore that. You're like, oh, why do I need 8 hours of sleep? And even neuroscience doctors have all proven like how much sleep we need, how much rest we need for the brain to function well. So that's the second one.
Okay, so that helps with basically not be overtired or not burning yourself out. So you maintaining a kind of like a prolonged, stable amount of energy, so you can run marathons instead of sprints in a way.
Yeah, I mean, physical. In the end, we are physical human beings, right?
Yeah.
So we need our body to function. When we talk about willpower, one of the things that I can even say from my own example, I had a big setback. I treated my dog like my child. He passed away, and it crashed my nervous system. But the way it crashed, I felt it physically, not just emotionally.
Yeah.
And one thing I learned from this lady who I actually ended up getting certified from, her name is Dr. Tara Swart. She's a neuroscientist. And one of the few things that she taught us in the beginning is about physical health. And she gave us a journal, which included activities like eating, what we're eating and things. One of the key things that I learned from her is like running, how important it is to wake up and be in the sun and be energized within the first 10-15 minutes of waking, instead of scrolling through your phone. So then that goes back to our physical activity. Like if you wake up groggy, are you not sleeping well? Are you not eating well? What is it that's draining you down? Because willpower ultimately is something physical. If you don't have the energy in your body, chances are you're not going to act through any willpower that you have. How do you do that? Like if there's a brain fog, right? So that's the second one. Then we have spiritual grounding.
Okay.
So it means like how in tune are you with something that's beyond you? It doesn't have to be religion. It could be belief system. It could be a higher mission. It could be something that you feel your senses are compatible with. So it doesn't like completely draw you down to, hey, are you present? Are you aware of, doing sound baths? Not all of that, but spiritually, how grounded you are. And you're not just functioning on the physical level.
Describe to me someone who is spiritual grounded. What does that look like, or how can you tell?
Sure. So in my own learnings, I would say I describe spiritual people in two ways. There are people, and this can be a combination. There's obviously intersection of the two circles, but there are people who only do spiritual practices. They're sound healers, they're healers, they do practices, whatever that entails. And then there are people who do not identify with their thoughts. And I feel that's real spirituality. Spirituality is not completely about connecting to the energy and healing or performing certain things. It's being aware of who you really are beyond thoughts.
Which is what? Who are we truly?
We can go into that. Then you're labeling mentally, right? Mental labels can only take you so far.
Yeah.
So if I were to put in words, it's the awareness or the consciousness behind everything that we have. It's like space, and thoughts are like the room, the furniture inside of there. But you can't really see space, right? So the awareness or the consciousness, if I had to describe it in words, would be that space.
As slightly off a side journey, awareness and consciousness, not only you, pretty much everyone uses them kind of interchangeably. In your view, what is the delta between the two? Like, how do you differentiate? What is awareness in your understanding, and what is consciousness?
Awareness.
If there is a distinction in your terms. Yeah.
I pretty much use it very interchangeably, but awareness could be individualistic. I'm aware of what's happening inside me and outside me. Consciousness also has collective consciousness. So there's a space that you exist in, but you don't know you are also a part of the collective consciousness. So it's like a movie, right? So you are aware of your character, which is awareness. And then if you're aware of the whole movie, then that's collective consciousness.
Yeah. Yeah, from my kind of understanding, the awareness involves an agent or party that is doing the sensing, either through our senses, through thinking, and we are experiencing something else, and we're becoming aware of that thing through our senses. That the whole process of like, oh, I'm aware of my discomfort in my foot or something like that. Consciousness, it does not involve necessarily the who. It's a process. It's like a happening in a way. It's not. It doesn't even have the relationship of me recognizing something or being aware of a sensation. It's a consciousness. It's like the totality of the whole happening.
Yeah, I agree. And it's very difficult to describe it in words, right? It's like sometimes it's almost like a sense, like you know it or you don't know it. Like how do you describe hunger? Or color to a blind person. It's the same concept.
So we are on the third one. Is there anything else that important that we didn't touch on?
Physical?
The physical, yeah.
No, we pretty much, I gave my own journey and, my own story here of being physically healthy and how it affects your willpower.
And by the way, with advancements in science and technology and stuff that influences our health, do you think we can get to higher levels of physical awareness through science and through, let's say, even living much longer or maybe forever that somebody might want? How does that play? What role does that play?
I totally believe in science. Like, I'm not going to give up the logical, the engineer part of me, you know. And that's what I was saying. Like, everything that we talk about, it doesn't have to be separated. Consciousness is also the union of everything. It is the physical, the metaphysical, the vibrations, the energy, everything, the totality, right? So if I were to talk about science, of course, like, I believe in science. I would I'm not one of those who would go drink tea if I have a problem. I would go to a doctor.
Yeah.
So why not? And wearables is a thing. We've talked about that earlier with you offline as well. And I totally believe and I'm for it. Like have more. These tools are like also assistants, right? In a way, like just the way we are creating AI assistants to do our work. Why can't they be there for any other purposes? So I feel, why not?
I think there is a threshold of usefulness. So the reliance on the analysis or on the data might also kind of backfire and atrophy our ability to actually sense. Let's say you wake up in the morning, your watch tells you you had a 99% sleep score, but you feel like shit. The reality of things, you actually feel like shit. You can't be just trusting the data,
For sure. Yeah, I mean, it's a tool and you don't have to 100% rely on it. Could tell you that, you had really good sleep and like you said, maybe you had like nightmares. It's not going to understand those problems, right? So there's limitations to everything, yeah.
And to what degree, like, how do you decide when to stop listening to data and listen to your inner guidance, your intuition, or not even intuition, your senses, right?
Yeah, I mean, they go hand in hand. Like, do I want to, like, for example, I'm not feeling well, I'm going to measure my blood pressure. So my blood pressure machine is going to tell me, yes, your blood pressure is low, so I am feeling it. So it's kind of correlated, I'm not feeling well, so I got the test done and it's giving me data. But I'm not going to sit there and assume that I have low blood pressure and act on it and not do anything either way. So yeah, it kind of goes together, I would say.
Yeah, because sometimes you are not feeling well, not because you have high pressure, but because you have an emotion that maybe hasn't yet manifested in the physical that you can measure.
Absolutely.
Anyway, yeah, so that's another rabbit hole there. So the fourth one, what would that be?
Which we covered.
We just covered physical awareness.
Physical awareness, mental clarity, and we covered spiritual. Okay,
Grounding,
we can go into intuition next since we were on it.
Okay, yeah.
So intuition
So there's no like sequence, they could just be in
it's
any
like
order.
a circle.
Oh, okay,
So I'm going through them. I'm not going in a sequence, no.
Okay, yeah.
So intuition is, again, now science has kind of proven what intuition means. It talks about it's the awareness that comes before your thoughts. That's how they describe it in neuroscience now. Anything that your body feels before your mind actually processes. So they talk about, the whole amygdala and the prefrontal cortex and how you're very stressed and the amygdala is overactive. And once it is so overactive, you can't really process what you're feeling about a situation. So the questions we ask, like I was telling earlier, is like, how often do you listen to what your body is saying? And are you listening to it before your mind acts? Or are you listening to it after? Because then it could be a fear-based decision and not an intuitive decision. Usually, like we don't, like this whole thing is based on certain facts, but we don't say that, hey, if you're making certain decisions, these are wrong decisions. It could be right. You don't have, like I was saying before, like it doesn't have to be either or.
Right.
You use facts, you use your intuition, and then decide.
Okay.
I've used science, to be honest. I am a big believer on numbers, and somehow I built a trust. And when I have to make certain decisions, I just ask for a sign. And I just believe that if I get the sign, I will act on it. If I don't, then I don't. But that's my way of sometimes trusting intuitiveness collectively more.
So how can one increase their ability to be more intuitive or get more signal, not noise, but signal from intuitive sensing?
So it goes hand in hand with emotional regulation. So you can't be listening to your intuition when you're overly stressed. So the first step is to calm your nervous system down. That's where I was saying the whole amygdala situation. You have to calm it down. If it's overreactive, then you're in a fight or flight mode. And the chances of you making decisions are probably going to be fear-based. So calming yourself down, being in that presence, being aware, will activate your senses to feel something instead of reacting or overthinking, that we call it, and not trusting the intuition. So the steps if I had to name them, and doesn't have to work for everyone, but for most of us, is emotional regulation. Like, how do you make your nervous system calm? Then start listening to what your body is trying to tell you about a situation or a person.
Yeah.
Your answer would probably guide you better. And it's also a muscle again. You may want to keep doing it till you build that trust. It's hard to trust something when you are like totally very logical and you need data science behind it.
Yeah.
In my own example, like I was saying about my company Fashom, I discovered that through my meditation. I felt very intuitively that I had to do something in this whole body positivity space. I built on it. And there were a lot of decisions I made in the company that did not come from logic. We decided not to spend money on ads, and everyone was like, "You crazy? This is not, how is it going to work organically?"
Yeah.
We were over 3 million in revenue the first year without paid ads, and it happened very intuitively. I just happened to say, "Hey, let's try YouTube influencers." So again, I think over the years, I was just practicing that in my personal life, not really at work.
Yeah.
And I started building that trust eventually at work as well.
Would you say the more still or more at peace you are, the wider the channel through which you receive intuition?
100%. Yeah.
And in more stressful kind of fight and flight states, are you saying that that channel is very, like, you can't really hear it at all?
You may hear, but you may overthink it and dilute it with thoughts instead of as a listener.
Right, you're overthinking, like monkey mind might be just diluting that signal, and you might not actually decipher like which one is which.
Yeah. I mean, if we were to look back, even in our evolution, our frontal cortex, which is the thinking mind, did not develop until we discovered fire. So primitive mind was, if you remember, in archaeology, the head was really small, and we didn't have the frontal portion. And we trusted our intuition to guide us to find food or fight for danger, whatever we needed to survive. Eventually, we found protein, which is killing animals. Then we found how to light up fire. So we started cooking, and then we started eating protein. And protein led to building the front part of the brain, which is a prefrontal cortex, which gave us the thinking mind. So if we trace it back, we all have that power. We still have it inherently in our DNA. It's just that we are conditioned from the time we are born to have logic, to think in a certain way. So my mission, if I had to describe it in one sentence, is to make people more aware of their own awareness. Everyone's after learning, creating more knowledge, understanding. Like there's a limit to human intelligence. And as awareness, intelligence, the platform itself, if I can describe it, it's a tool. It's like an operating system, right? Awareness is like an operating system which around which you can see how your intelligence, your senses, everything else is working.
Yeah. As you were saying, I was getting more clarity or downloads. So do you think intuition is computational in nature? So let's say when we make decisions with our frontal cortex, it is computational. We have different variables, and we try to optimize. It's like an optimization function that your brain is trying to resolve, and here it is. Here's the answer. But intuition is potentially incorporating variables that you're not fully aware of yet. They are in the back of your mind. It's doing some kind of computation. Or do you think it's a completely different process where you're maybe connecting to the quantum field and extracting the signal from there?
So neuroscience says it otherwise. If we look at the research and the studies, they say intuition is based on past patterns. So there's some connection that you make into patterns, and that gives a signal to your brain. And before you start thinking about it, that the first reaction or the first, it's also form of a thought that comes to you as a feeling, as a sense, that's, according to neuroscience, that's your intuition. But as we know, like there's been, like the way we've described wisdom over the years has also changed. Like how did the sages know about so much before science came about, right?
Right.
So there has to be some source that exists within us, which is connecting to the quantum, like you said. So if I were to explain it more on the spiritual sense, I say there's infinite source of intelligence which is outside, which we don't even know. And somehow that only activates or connects with us when we are completely still. Our mind is a tool that if we use it properly is of our advantage, but most of the time we have useless thinking. What am I going to eat? Do I need to do this? What time am I going to go home?
Right.
But the moment, like we call it the stillness, that's where meditation really helps to calm our monkey minds. I think we connect to a higher source. And that's why I said, like, how in the world could I know something about this fashion world when I wasn't even in it? And I want to, like, say it outright. I completely believe and have experienced timeline shifts. So I know, and quantum physics is now kind of quantifying how timelines work. In my own journey, I saw the symbol F, which is my company's logo, many, many years ago in a dream. And I woke up and I drew it because the sense was so strong that I had to draw it and keep it. And I saved the picture on my phone. I look back and I'm like, I knew about it like 6-7 years even before I even formulated the company. So in the end, like science, I believe, but it's catching on. And something that has not been tested yet doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah, it sounds like what science considered intuition, something that they can measure and that has the physical blueprint, but it sounds like it's a continuum that goes outside of the physical, or at least something that outside of what we can measure, and that's where the interaction with the quantum field is, where we can. It's like a fuzzy reality that we don't really have a good understanding of.
Correct. So, like, if we were talking about quantum science, if all timeline exists in the now, there are different possibilities. So if our intuition connects to another timeline, there could be different possibilities in one decision. You could be in reality 1 or 7 based on your decision. So is that intuition? Like, I know what my future is going to be based on that reality. And then, there's the whole conversation about us vibrating based on one reality versus the other. So if I were to connect intuition in that sense, my current vibration intuitively only tells me about reality 1. If I change my vibration, it will tell me about reality 7.
And do you feel like intuition, on the other side where the signal comes from, do you think it's a field in which there are no agents, or there's someone there to communicate that to us?
Touchy subject, but I believe there are communicators.
Okay. I do too. Okay. That's what I'm asking. Yeah.
Yes, I receive help all the time.
Yes.
And I haven't said this out loud on camera, but I don't mind saying it. So I have also learned different techniques for healing. And I didn't think I was going to practice commercially meaning to people that I didn't know. I used certain things I actually learned it from my dog, let's be honest. I learned because I was like, he got sick and I'm like, I need to do something.
Yeah.
And over the years, I kept learning. I've even trained with Joe Dispenza. And I just kept, like, as a personal interest. And once I started doing it with people that I didn't know, I felt, intuitively speaking, I needed help. Because I felt like, am I doing this by myself? What is going on? And that's when I started feeling and sensing there's help around us that we can't physically see. And it's easy to communicate if you open the channel. I don't want to say that it's a sixth sense, because I feel like we all have all these senses. It's the awareness piece. I didn't feel all of this 15 years ago when I was completely logical. I feel that now. So I'm pretty sure we are born with it. It's just how conditioned we are.
It atrophies because we don't have
exactly. I think neuroscience even says that you have 34 senses. We're just not tuned into them. So then communication with beings, if we want to call.
Do you call them beings, spirits? Like, what's your kind of understanding what that is?
I like to call them angels because I feel like they're helping me. So I like to call them angels, but I can't describe them physically. I see it as light. And it doesn't appear like I've seen it around, but I cannot say that I can call them instantaneously and ask them for something, except when I'm meditating or healing anyone. That's when I physically can call it.
I noticed that having an intention matters a lot.
For sure.
Right. So you have an intention to receive the signal.
Correct.
I interpret it as a future me communicating with me, the desirable version of me that's basically show me the way to that version of me that I'm going to forward. And when you said angels, we are, so I have this whole like kind of theory that's not backed up by yet. There are no proofs of that, but logically, if I kind of lay it out, it might make a little bit more sense. Over time, humans have been migrating. So let's say 1,000 years ago, the whole value system, even what we've been mainly doing, was all physical. Like we were farming, we were building cathedrals, and the highest forms of human evolution was expressed in the physical form. A more evolved societies had more beautiful physical structures, and it was all physical, right? And as we were continuing to evolve, we started spending more and more time in non-physical domains in which language and culture and emotions and all of that exists. It's kind of like a layer of abstraction where consciousness exists in a way, right? And even the way, so basically over time, the beingness or like human experience is becoming more and more subtle. We're entering or we're valuing spaces that are non-physical, they're more ethereal. Even an interesting example of how we interact with technology. So let's take an example of a phone. So what's the most, like the first versions of the phone, it was heavy, it had a lot of mass, it had a lot of physicality of it, right? And it had physical buttons, and it was probably hard to press. It was like a very physical thing, right? And over time, it became lighter and lighter. It was much easier to press the buttons. Over time, now we have a screen that we don't even have buttons anymore. It's just like a very subtle interaction with the computer or with the devices, right? And then the next iteration of that, which I'm doing more and more of, is interacting with voice, right? So I'm not even touching it anymore. It becomes less and less physical and more ethereal. And I think our human, and we're spending more and more of our time and attention in those spaces, in the physical spaces. Yes, we still have the physical body, and I hope we will continue to have it to experience this physical reality. But to extrapolate that, let's say 1,000 years ago, 1,000 years into the future, I think it could be probable that we are on the trajectory into the being ethereal beings that are not physical at all, and that they could be those angels that don't have the physical form anymore, and they're just whispering back into the past and drawing the path into the future.
I agree. I totally agree. And there's so much that we can't even know from the level of our minds, right? And what you're saying about the example of the phones, the upgrade, I would relate that back to state of consciousness. This different states of consciousness, and not every human being is on the same path. So judgment is the other thing that I had to work on a lot of the times initially, because I felt like, I can see this. Why can't they understand what I'm seeing? So there was an egoic judgment. So again, that's another state of consciousness. I feel like, the mobile phone or the voice is like higher state of consciousness if we were to grade them.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're right, maybe the future self is whispering and saying, hey, you don't need to do this. Don't be afraid. Go with the flow, surrender.
Yes, exactly. Surrender. And my hope is AI and automation and robotics will enable us to spend more time opening up those intuitive channels of communication, because there will be less and less things to do here in terms of work, in terms of being busy, occupying our attention on the physical activity or on activity on the computer. So more of those jobs are going away, and humans will be forced to practice their other things that they can do, like sensing and intuitive sensing.
Yeah, we could go back to a primitive world where we didn't know what to do with life. We were just exploring.
Well, in the primitive, like there were other things to worry about, like tigers and other things. Very physical dangers and other things. Once you remove all of that, where you don't have to be. Most of your attention doesn't have to be directed on, I have to always be aware of my surrounding because some danger can come through. But now you can like fully be, channeling something, or like, you're not.
I believe until we are in the physical form, there's always going to be challenges. I think that's one gateway also to awareness. Once you achieve like complete awareness, or people have described it as moksha or any nirvana, I feel like then there's no physical challenge. You're in that blissful state where you don't need to do any work. So even if the technology improves and we outsource everything, I'm pretty sure there'll be some challenges that we'll still be in some survival state, still trying to figure out.
Yeah, or if they're not, we will engineer.
Some problems, of course.
Yeah. We'll create challenges for ourselves so we can continue find meaning.
Of course.
Because there's no meaning without challenge, right? Yeah. Okay, so we took a deep dive into the whole intuition topic. What else is there? Like, let's.
Do you want to cover each of them, or do we want to?
Maybe just like mention the remaining ones, and we can kind of. Start closing the loop.
Sure.
Yeah.
So after intuition, there's creative flow.
Yeah.
Understanding how you are processing in your work, like how creative. When I say creative, not drawing, but how problem solution oriented you are. You just creating problems, or you actually working towards a solution. Then you have.
Who defines solutions? How do you define a solution?
So there's like a set of questions on that, like how clear are you with producing results versus just pondering upon a problem. So that's the creative flow. And then we have emotional regulation, which is a big one, as we know. And then we have relationships and connections, which is also pretty big, because you can be very emotionally regulated. You could have all the intuition, but maybe you just don't know how aware you are with people. Like, the way I am with myself, am I the same way as with other people? So that comes under relationships and connections.
Before you finish, emotional awareness, any tips for people to expand that awareness, emotional awareness?
Well,
exercises?
Sure. Like journaling is one. Some people don't like to journal, but then if you don't like to journal, you can voice record now, That's a technology piece.
I know.
You know it?
Yeah.
So there's like there's tools available for you to be aware of your own self, and I think moment to moment awareness is more important than someone sitting there and practicing meditation, for an hour a day.
Right.
I always give this example. It's like, okay, you can have a good practice. You do yoga, you wake up at 3 a.m, and you do everything, quote unquote, good on the books. But if moment to moment after you go into work or your personal life, you are unaware, you're not present, then it's like eating organic breakfast and McDonald's for the rest of the day.
Right.
So being aware is key of your emotions. Hey, I'm feeling triggered by this person or by this situation. Once I know I'm aware, and it's the presence behind it, right? Then I know what actions I can take to regulate myself.
Then you're not in it, you're outside of it, and you can act a lot with a higher level of awareness, and you have more control of the...
Correct. So one thing that has worked for a lot of people, and I can say this here, is like, reward yourself. So if you are writing or talking, just talk about things that happened for you in your favor. Even if it's like a small win. My child hugged me and said, I love you. Like, that's a win. Because overall, you're just creating new pathways. Our brain loves to believe that we always have problems. We're always in fight or flight mode.
Yeah.
But once we start building these neuro pathways that are rewarding, then you start taking better actions, whether it's personal life or professional. So that really helps, because a lot of people who are out of jobs now, they say AI is taken over. I don't know when AI is going to do my dishes, but
At some point. Yeah, robots for sure will be washing your dishes.
I'm waiting for that day.
Yes, it's coming for sure. In the next 5 years, okay.
I can wait, I guess.
Yeah.
But then you are always in that stress mode that I'm applying for these jobs, but I'm not getting an interview. So in certain situations, what if you start writing, hey, I got an interview call today. Oh, this friend helped me connect with someone. It doesn't have to result into you getting a job, but it's the small steps reminding you, creating new pathways in your brain saying, hey, everything's not like the worst thing. There is good that's happening, and it'll take you to better results. So yeah, that's an example of that. And then the last one is purposeful action.
Can we quickly touch on the relational awareness?
Yes.
What are some tips or some things to improve that awareness as well? Any exercises?
Sure. Yeah. So one thing is, if you are open to it, have your 5 people, like they could be one from work, one could, others could be other areas of life, maybe family, friends, husband, wife. Have these 5 people tell you about their relationship with you. And not in a judgmental way, but ask them feedback. Hey, how many times have you seen me trigger you and you've not spoken about it? Having an open conversation. Maybe with a coworker, hey, how often do you feel I'm micromanaging you? So overall, and I want to mention this, when as an employer, you have your team do this awareness test. Overall, you also understand how stressed they are. You could be doing all the yoga, wellness activities, once a month. But if they go back to their desk and they still feel they're being micromanaged, it doesn't help. So, the whole awareness thing is also for others in the terms of relations, like how well do you maintain these relations, not within yourself, which is, in other parts of the awareness test, but also with maintaining with coworkers, family, friends, etc.
What's been very helpful for me is, since I'm recording a lot of interaction with other people, having AI be a third person that shows me my blind spots in any situation, and especially if it's a long-running relationship, you can find patterns throughout time, not just in one interaction, which also is useful to analyze the way you were interacting. Maybe you were not noticing something, or it's very useful for anyone to experience.
I couldn't agree with that more. So AI, when we talk about it, yes, it's, some people say it's dangerous, it can lead to, negative consequences, maybe, but I feel like we're outsourcing some awareness to the app. But if we use it, like you said, it's like a mirror. You're using it to give you back your awareness what happened. That's an excellent tool. Why not? Why not use it for a mirror exercise when someone can reflect back to you and say, hey, this is what I heard.
I see it. It could certainly be seen as outsourcing. I see it as an amplification. So you might have some awareness around like, oh, maybe I should have not said this. But AI could tell you, yeah, you should have not said this for this and this reason because you said over here something, and you have a lot more, because AI can hold the entire conversation in context and say, analyze it like to such detail that your mind is not capable of. And it just amplifies your awareness around that.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely.
And so the last one is?
Purposeful action.
Okay.
So it's, again, the reward system, right? How purposeful is my life in when it comes to certain actionable things? Like if we're talking specifically for work, like how am I making an impact? People like to feel rewarded making an impact. Like if is it a person, it could be something very personal, but those questions reflect back to you understanding, are you feeling purposeful, or you're just going as, on an automated program?
Yeah.
So that's how
can one find their purpose? Like, what does that feel like, or tell me more about purpose.
Purpose again is, a definition that is very self-reflective. Like everyone defines it differently. Your definition of purpose could be very different than mine. My definition of purpose is having an impact on others. So again, defining purpose for an individual could also differ. But it goes back to the same thing, like how aware you are of your actions that lead to a purpose, whatever your definition of purpose is. And are you aligned with that? Like if I'm saying that, I want to create impact, but here I'm, doing something that's not empathetic, and I'm, driving a crazy car on the highway, I don't know, whatever that is, and not like working towards this goal, then I'm not taking purposeful action.
So everyone would have their purpose. Like all purposes are different, but they're all there's a global purpose, maybe a higher purpose of humanity, let's say, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, again, when it comes to different people, obviously not everyone believes in that. They're very individualistic. A lot of people are individualistic in their thinking, but
especially in the Western world,
but if we were to think about a higher purpose, absolutely. I think we are all here for a mission. That why I'm here talking to you about all this is probably, even if one person listens and connects, that's our purpose right there. But I definitely feel that the way our lives evolve is definitely based on a higher purpose, and it's not individualistic at all. I mean, look at the galaxies, the universe. We don't even know what exists there, and they're holding up. They're not falling apart. So obviously there is a bigger force, in action.
How do you see a desirable human future? What would you like for future generations to have? Like, what kind of reality would you like to manifest?
I would love for everyone to be spiritually awake. And by that, I mean knowing that they're not just a human body. They're not just their mind. They know there is a purpose behind this physical life. And it's good to enjoy it. Our souls chose this body to be here, to experience this reality. But I would want the future generation to know that we are all in it together. It's not you, me, individuals. It's actually us. And it's like I was saying earlier, understanding the entire movie and not just a particular scene and the character. So you're not just the character, but the entire movie belongs to you.
Mitali, thank you. This was a very fruitful, engaging conversation. I really enjoyed it. Thank you, listeners, for sticking around all the way until the end, at least for those who have. And I will see you on the next episode. Please subscribe, follow us with future interviews, and help us promote the show if you want to see more conversations like that. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you so much.